9, 8, 7. We have a go for main engine start. 4, 3, 2, 1, and liftoff.
Peace up, A-Town down. Yeah. Okay. Hush. Let's go.
In the club with my homies, tryna get a little VI, keep it down on the low key. Cause you know how it feels. I saw the shorty, she was checking up on me. From the game she was spitting in my ear, you would think that she know me. Decided to chill. The conversation got heavy. She had me feeling like she's ready to blow.
Watch out.
She's saying, come get me. So I got up and followed her to the floor. She said, baby, let's go. When I told her, I said, yeah. Shorty got down and said, come and get me. Yeah. I guess I'm caught up, I forgot she told me. Yeah. Her and my girl just be the best of all me. Yeah. Next thing I knew, she was all up on me screaming. Got me thinking that it might be a good idea to take her with me. Cause she's ready to leave.
Well, let's go.
And I gotta keep it real now. Cause on the 1 to 10, she's a certified 20. But that just ain't me. Hey, cause I don't know if I take that chance, just where's it gonna lead? But what I do know is the way she dance makes Shawty alright with me. The way she get low, I'm like, yeah, just work that out for me. She asked for one more dance, and I'm like, yeah, how the hell am I supposed to leave? And I said, yeah. Shawty got down and said, come and get me. Yeah. I guess I'm caught up, I forgot she told me. Yeah. And my girl just be the best thing on me. Yeah. Next thing I knew, she was all up on me screaming.
Outfit's ridiculous. In the club looking so conspicuous. And wow, these women all on the prowl. If you hold the head steady, I'ma milk the cow. And forget about game, I'ma spit the truth. I won't stop till I get them in their birthday suits. So give me the rhythm and it'll be off with their clothes. Then bend over to the front and touch your toes. I left the jag and I took the rolls. If they ain't cutting, then I put them on foot patrol. How you like me now when my pinky's valued over 300,000? Let's drink, you the one to please. Little Chris fill cups like double D. Me and Ursh once more when we leave some dead. We want a lady in the street, but a freak in the bed that say,
yeah. Shawty got down and said, come and get me. Yeah. I guess I'm caught up, I forgot she told me. Yeah. Her and my girl just be the best of all me. Yeah. Next thing I knew, she was all up on me screaming.
Take that and rewind it back. Lil Jon got the beat to make your booty go. Take that, rewind it back. Ursher got the voice to make your booty go. Take that, rewind it back. Ludacris got the flow to make your booty go. Take that, rewind it back. Lil Jon got the beat to make your booty go.
That was crazy. Anybody just tuned in, they're like, what the hell was that? What is up? What is up? What is up? SFL Nation, welcome back to SFL Nights with AJ Striker. Thank you so much for joining me today or tonight or whenever you decided to hit that play button or turn on that radio dial. I really appreciate it, y'all. Had to take it back to the Middle Ages with that one. That rendition of Usher. I mean, I figure if we're going to be doing something about D&D, we might as well go all out, you know? And it's funny because I will be taking a break during the show. And I have another song that I feel like you're just going to love, just like that one. So I decided to do this show because in the past, I have asked people, let me see if I can turn this off. In the past, I've asked different people, hey, what do you like to do? Maybe besides SFL. They're like, hey, D&D. So I was like, I wonder if I can get some people interested in actually having a D&D show where you kind of explain what D&D is all about and maybe kind of share some of your great D&D stories. So I have a few people here tonight, a few great souls who have decided to join me on this quest this evening. And it's going to be fun. So I said I was going to dress up. I did. I couldn't get my archer. I actually had a bow and arrow ordered, I like archery anyway. So that was going to be for me anyway, not just to go with the fit, but I wouldn't get it in time. So that is why I have my beautiful dragon blade here. Now, if you have ever listened to any of my SFL night stories that I tell, the SFL story times, this is the dagger that I'm referring to. Whenever I say that I'm going to stab Gordon, this is it. So now you know. Let me go ahead and bring my guests up. First guest of the evening will be Mr. Keith Wheeler.
Hey,
joining us.
hey,
How are you doing?
I'm enjoying this. You said D&D.
Doing good.
I'm all over this.
Dope. So I was wondering if I was going to have anybody that was going to be takers, and at least trying to get everyone to have an understanding as to how Dungeons and Dragons actually operates and like the little nuances. So I'm excited to talk to all of y'all about that.
Well, it's pretty simple. The SFL works exactly like D&D. I mean, the DM controls everything. So if he doesn't want it to happen, it doesn't happen. So Cam is our DM.
Oh, good point. Bringing up Mr. Justin Resign. What's going on, Justin? Coming in to say what's up to us.
Yeah, I'm all right. We're gonna be so much fun talking about D&D. I'm like, I might as well get on this D&D shenanigans.
Hey, good. I'm glad you're here. And it's been a while since I've seen you too. So, and Keith, this is your first time being on. So welcome, dear. You picked a great show.
Yeah, hopefully we'll have this. I'll be on a little bit more. And I know I got you scheduled for mine coming up here in January. That's gonna be fun.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it because I'm not a guest on a lot of shows, so just doesn't happen that way. So it'll be interesting to see.
Flipping the script a little bit. You're gonna go sit through some of my stuff because I do a podcast for a different sim. That's a sports sim as well, and I did that just to kind of break up the mind a little bit, so I wouldn't go stir crazy, during COVID at the time, and then it became after COVID. So I just continued. I'm like, let's do a crossover, and we'll see the first crossover guest. I'll probably post it this coming Sunday. I'm not saying who it is yet, but it's coming Sunday.
Okay, looking forward to that. Next up, Mr. Fox Highland joining us. He was actually, when I first put this out, he was the first person to say that he wanted to be a part of it. And this was like weeks ago. So, I had to make sure you were on here, man. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, AJ?
I'm good. It's always good seeing you, man.
Well, it's good seeing you too. So you couldn't get your bow and arrow set ordered. So you went rogue, huh?
I went rogue, man. Just don't walk up on me. You might get sliced.
Well, you got a guitar in the background, so you could be a bard.
I could be.
That later, though.
It's a guitar and a flute back there.
Perfect.
That was who y'all heard me in the song y'all heard earlier.
Yeah, right. I didn't think anything different.
Yeah, I'd like a deception check on that, please, AJ.
We'll talk about that later. Don't you have to go to bed soon? So we all know about that. And finally, Zena and Alex West. Alex and Zena West. However you want to say it. One of my favorite couples of the league that has came in and taken over my school.
You don't have to spare anyone's feelings. We know we're your favorites. It's okay.
Damn. I mean, this is being recorded.
It's okay. We
I
know
got
our value. We know
partial.
we're
You
beautiful.
know I love y'all. Yes. But then I have Skippy and Curtis to think about, then they'll get mad at me, so
That's
like
true.
how do I
That's
do
true.
this?
That's true. That's fair.
I want them problems. Now I might have one more guest joining us if he decides to, and that would be whoops, maybe not. Oh my gosh, his name is Zach Benjamin. He was going to come on too because he's actually played a few campaigns in D&D too. So if he comes, I'll add him. But if not, then maybe I'll catch him next time. But I want to go ahead.
Hey, I count
All right,
5.
let's get started.
You can make a party. You can make an adventuring party of 5 and a GM. We have. It's okay.
Yeah, I think there's enough of
I like that.
GM different sections of this.
Yes,
Between all the
definitely.
GMs in the room, surely one of us can be behind a screen.
Everybody. So, and actually, I guess I'll be seeing all y'all next week too, GMs. I guess I'll be seeing y'all. We'll talk.
Yeah, next week's draft.
Yeah.
Oh, son of a!
Did you forget?
Sorry,
Justin.
Sorry, floor hockey. And no, the floor hockey is next Saturday. It's like this Saturday and this Saturday. It's like I didn't remember the drafts in between that shit.
Okay.
It's okay, Justin. We'll make the pick for you.
You're gonna get skipped.
It's all right. I'll take Justin's picks. It's okay.
We'll take your pick.
No, I thought Carolina already took their pick.
Oh.
I mean, Chad and Tom are probably taking care of that issue right now. If we're getting picks or not.
We'll definitely take it. But everybody, so thank you first for being here. I really appreciate it. I think this is a fun way to kind of introduce something that a lot of people apparently like to do as far as having, playing Dungeons and Dragons, but we're all a part of the SFL. So that's why I was saying that we're all kind of meeting up and kind of understanding. I would love to get a better understanding of D&D. My daughter plays, and she was trying to explain it to me, and she wanted me to sit in on her campaign with her friends, and I'm like, okay. Then she tried to make a character sheet for me. I'm like, oh, okay. Y'all doing too much. So I will start with the basics of D&D for a novice like myself. What is Dungeons and Dragons essentially?
Well, do you want the old school?
So I'll start with you first.
You want the old school response? Because I've been playing since '81. I played when it was a little blue box. It had a little plastic dice.
Oh my god!
I mean, I remember seeing chainmail when it was, and chainmail was old at the time. That's when
dinosaurs walked the earth.
Hey, don't talk about my transportation like that.
Everybody thought that Dungeons and Dragons was the gift of Satan.
Oh yeah.
Whoa!
Yeah, I mean, Dungeons and Dragons, and everybody here will always say things. It means something a little bit different than everybody else, but basically, it's a fantasy tabletop role-playing game where you create characters, and there's different ways to do this, and there's a lot of technical stuff to it and builds, but basically you're telling a story collectively, and pretty much everybody's sitting around in pajamas eating pizza and drinking beer. That's the easiest way to put it.
Okay. Anybody else want to add to that?
I think he's got it.
Yeah, I think unless you add
there's fundamental things that have stayed the same ever since the game's inception. And there's fundamental things that have always stayed the same since the game's inception, and it's that core, that identity of collaborative storytelling between, at the very least, the player or players, however many there are, and the person who's actually choosing to run the game itself. Because without that collaborative storytelling, all this is a novel. But it's that everyone has a determination in where this story goes. Everyone has a hand in what happens at the end of the day, and to some extent it's also what the dice say happens at the end of the day. It's not just up to everyone at the table and what everyone at the table wants to happen. fate has to agree.
Well, I'm not sure if it's fate so much, but maybe probability, Alex, I think would be a better word for it. Yeah, we use funky polyhedral dice to do different things. And like Alex said, there's one person who tends to be the impetus for the story, and the others are the players in it. And it comes down to, we can talk a little bit later about, player agency and stuff as well, which kind of goes over to most games, the idea of player agency. And I know Alex has addressed this a little bit with the rookies in the SFL too, the idea of player agency a little bit, which is kind of an interesting twist. But basically, it's like, give you an idea. When I first started back in '81, I was in 6th or 7th grade. My older brother's group was playing, so I played with them, and it was very much like, here's a module, a preset adventure. We do this, blah 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 blah, and here's the storyline. And over the time, I've watched it go into more of the collaborative, like Alex was saying, where we're all part of this. And my evolution from being a DM, where here's what the rule set, because I understand 3 of my friends, fathers or mothers, were lawyers, so rules were kind of important with us, to now, hey, here's the story. And the idea of, the guys will talk about it here, the ideas of rule of cool versus rules as written. How do we balance that? And to me, it's more proactive my players are with me, because I do both sides of it. I'm not always a forever GM. I tend to be a lot, but not a lot. I take time off. But the idea is that we do spend our time working with each other and role playing. The storytelling is cool. To me, the narrative of you can roll a dice, a 6-sided dice or an 8-sided dice or a 4 or a 12 or a 10 or a 20 or 100. There's 24, and there's different types of dice. They all tell things, but the number is only part of it. It's how you describe it. And maybe the other guys, Fox or Justin or Alex or Zena, can jump in on this too, is how you describe what that is and what the effects are. Just because you roll a number doesn't mean you passed or failed. It just means maybe a degree of success to it. At least that's how I look at it.
So, yeah, I would agree with that. What Keith just said. Yeah.
So, is there a book? So when you want to say, hey, I want to start a campaign right now, do I have to go and buy
books?
Which book do we start with, everybody?
Well, the book probably.
Player handbook.
Couple of resources. The first.
Put the mic closer to Zena, please.
Yeah, give me that.
Yeah, hold the mic out.
This is what happens whenever he hogs the mic and I'm trying to talk. So there's a couple of books that you could have hard copies of to start out with. First one is always going to be the Player's Handbook. It's going to have all your rules. It's going to have all your basics in there. It's going to teach you how to play it if somebody isn't going to actually describe it to you at first. Monster Manual, also very helpful. Will tell you every single monster there is to know that's actually officially part of the D&D universe, because of course people can make up their own stuff.
Homebrewed
yeah,
is this called.
Homebrews, that's what homebrews are called. So basically it's like if somebody wants to create something that is not actually D&D sanctioned, like for instance I've played in campaigns that were centered in the Pokemon world, then people are kind of making up their own like storylines, their own plot lines, their own plot devices, like the way that the rules work, but the basics are there in terms of rolling the dice and letting your combat's determined by what dice you roll, decisions are made by your dice rolls, and all that sort of stuff. But there's honestly so many different resources online now that trying to sort out anything by just doing an internet search is too far and wide for most people. It scares them, and all of a sudden they're like, I don't know how to do any of this, and we're like, no, just look at these two. It's okay, just start here. And that's been like since basically the beginning. Those two books have been around since almost D&D Edition 1 was created.
Well, actually, it goes back further than that. You go back to Chainmail. When Gary Gygax created the game, he did it because he did miniatures, war miniatures, like you'd see like the French Revolution, whatever, they measure distances and all this stuff. And he wanted a system that was easier to work with. And that's became the evolution of chainmail, which was basically a combat simulator, is what it was. And then it's like, okay, and it evolved into not only do you have the player's handbook, or the PHB as we so kindly refer to it as, and the monster manual, but there's been other, there's the third book of that trio that is kind of, especially if you get into the game master, or we call it the dungeon master originally, would be the Dungeon Master's Guide, which is even more in depth than the rules. It used to be in Player's Handbook, and I'll tell you how old it is. We go back to the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, which is the first set of hardbound books, because the original set was in a box, was paper bound. It was a hard, it was a heavy paper-based book. Those books came out, and then there became things like talk about the different deities and the different types of, and the thing called fiends that we were into. I mean, there's a lot of things, but it also had a lot of stuff going on at that time. Remember, this is the 70s and 80s as well, so it didn't have the reach like it does now. I mean, the reason D&D is around and most people play now is because of one show made it popular again. And that would be Stranger Things. Most people, unless you were a math geek or a chess geek or whatever, or had friends that liked it, nobody really knew what D&D was. Would that be safe to say, everybody?
I think it depends on which generation you're in and how much media you consumed, because there was technically a Dungeons and Dragons cartoon that came out, I think, in the late 80s or early 90s, but quite honestly, it's kind of niche. And then there was a very bad movie that came out in the early 2000s.
I remember
No, it wasn't bad. It was absolutely horrible.
Yeah,
but
it was. Yeah, there's a reason why nobody knows that it really exists.
We're not talking about Honor Among Thieves, right?
we're talking the original Dungeons and Dragons movie.
As the main villain.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I would also say that that part of the other reason why it's more popular now is because of the existence of Critical Role. And its existence on YouTube and being more accessible to people of our generation and younger. So people who didn't have parents who played it, like, they're all of a sudden getting into it now because it's something that they can actually follow along with, and the people who are involved in Critical Role, like, they're known in other circles, mainly like for video games and voice acting. So people are like, oh, I know this person from X show, and they're playing this character, or I know this person voiced this character in this video game, so I'm going to watch them because I like them, and that sort of stuff. So it's kind of the accessibility of different kinds of media has...
Live streaming especially.
Yeah, live streaming especially has made a big deal.
Yeah, Critical Role was huge. And for those who haven't looked at it, I would go back to the Geek and Sundry days and watch it. I mean, that's kind of what really brought it back to me. I played this off and on since ¡81. I mean, there's been a few years where I didn't, just because of location, I didn't have anybody to work with, and internet wasn't a thing really. So it's like you're kind of limited to, hey, you want to try to explain Dungeons and Dragons to somebody, especially it comes from my time period, because I'm in my mid-50s, so 80s. They remember the satanic scare, basically, is what we called it. It was devils and worship, and I mean, it was hardcore. Right-wing conservatives were against this. I mean, the whole, everybody that was against Tipper Gore with the music. This was that time period. And there was a movie that came out, I believe it was it with Tom Hanks?
It was.
Tom Hanks.
Mazes and Monsters.
Yeah, that kind of was there, and it got turned in. Yeah, well, if you look at it now, it makes sense more than back then.
There was actually an 80s,
but D&D.
Yeah, I mean,
there was an 80s cartoon.
I think colloquially now they call it Satanic Panic. But yeah, I mean, it involved with like bands like Black Sabbath and Judas Priest, and then of course Dungeons and Dragons came along, and they're like, oh, we're raising a bunch of devil worshippers, and you're just like, dude, go read a fantasy book. Like,
crazy. Hey, Fox, go ahead.
Oh no, it was just, I don't know if anybody remembers, or if I know Keith was alive back then, but in the 80s, I remember there being like a Dungeons and Dragons cartoon.
Yes.
Where a lot of some kids went into a roller coaster and they emerged out into a land of Dungeons and Dragons. And if I remember correctly, I was really young then. I was like maybe 6 or 7. but they were just trying to get home.
Yeah.
And that was the whole deal. And I don't remember much about it. I remember kind of the opening sequence, and that was it.
Yeah, never go on a carnival ride when there's a weird guy handling the controls. And when you get there, understand the first thing you meet is probably one of the most powerful monsters in the game right off the bat with Tiamat. And that's a whole different story there. But it's just, yeah, you get into. I remember that story. I remember the movies. A lot of the game was became based off of Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. It originally was not designed that way. It was designed as a combat simulator. Then it Tolkien's the fan base basically took that over and brought that really in the late 70s, early 80s.
Hence the idea of the adventuring party.
Okay. I had no idea that it had so much lore. It had so much history, and people are really that passionate about it. But there was a question that was posed while you guys were talking, and I actually have some here. Why are there
I was so
many
excited.
sites? I have this one here.
Yes.
Hold on, that's rookie numbers. You need bags like this where they actually give you alcohol. Yeah, they give you alcohol with dice bags.
Am I
Do
the
you know
only
that?
one without a damn bag of dice? I just moved and I looked for an hour in my freezing.
Hey, just for you, Fox. Just for you, Fox. I got my small travel bag for you.
I'm so sorry. I'll just leave now. No. I looked for an old character sheet I had from an Epic game that we had, and for my dice, and I can't find them anywhere. And I know I packed them all on the move, but I have no idea where they're at in the garage.
Yeah.
No idea.
This man with his individual bags.
He got okay. Listen, you showing off?
No, it's okay. Like my one bag is just individual bags. It's just a bag of bags.
A bag?
Like,
Is it a bag of holding?
It's a
Oh
bag
my
of
god!
Yes.
You know, you put bags of holding inside of each other, that just rips a hole in the actual plane, right?
Yeah.
In the space-time continuum. That's
But so let's actually answer Corey's original question, which is not why so many dice, which is the whole Dice Goblin collection thing. We'll get into that later. Why so many sides? So let's talk about it. We actually have an object lesson here. AJ, would you pull out your little side piece again for us? Would you show that to us real quick? Thank you. So that's a D4. So that is the damage die that you roll whenever you stab someone with a dagger.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's whatever you use. That's the damage you do to the magic users on the first level that freak out.
So that D4 is a little.
Used as a damage modifier.
It's a little stabby, little stabby.
I just found my first.
Little stabby.
But you notice how it's a dagger. It's not very big. It's not going to do a lot of damage. And this is coincidentally the smallest die that's in a die set. Let's go to the second biggest one. Let's not take the D20 because he's special. We're going to leave that one to the side.
Wait.
Let's look at this one. Let's look at this little chunky guy here.
You should use mine. Mine are prettier.
This is rude ass. Fine. Give me
Come on, I'm pulling out the ones that look.
Give me the D12.
This one?
I mean,
Yes, that one. So this right here is a D12. It has 12 sides on it. So the D4 can only count up to 4. The D12 can count up to 12. If a big hulking orc holding a great axe, no, the biggest. If a big hulking orc holding an axe in his hands comes and takes a chunk out of your neck because he swings and hits you with a great axe, he's gonna be rolling a D12. He could, if he rolls max, deal 3 times as much damage with that axe as he could with a dagger. That's one of the reasons why so many sides. Another reason why so many sides is because there's a whole lot of spells in this game. And this different spells all do different amounts of damage. And the amount of dice you roll and the kind of dice you roll affects all of that information. So all of that is why you have everything other than your D20. You've got your D4s, your D6s, which is just, your basic die from like Yahtzee or whatever. Your D8, your D10s, and your D12. But then there is
You're forgetting the percentage.
The percentage.
D10s.
That's what Ashley just
There's
held up.
2 of them.
Yeah.
Two D10s, one of them is a percentage.
Or
So
you can
instead of
use
having-
a
This one?
Instead of
D100.
having single numbers, it's got tens. It's got it by a factor of 10.
Yeah, so if you ever
Yeah,
need to count
that's it.
from 1 to 100, you can roll that instead. It's kind of like random chance. But the big one,
Okay.
the big chunky one, the D20, is what you use for about everything else. You want to try
Okay.
and climb over a wall, roll a D20. You want to try and sneak past. You want to try and sneak past that town watchman so you can get in. So you can get into the tavern without getting caught because you're out after curfew. Roll a D20 in stealth. You want to try and hit that guard over the head with a pan because you don't trust yourself to sneak by him. You just want to knock him out. Roll a D20 to hit him. Everything that isn't I'm rolling for damage or I'm rolling for an effect is gonna be a D20. So it's kind of the all-purpose, the one you're gonna see the most of.
Oh, rookies.
Okay.
I need to find the dice. I mean, I've got D100s, I've got D24s, D30s, D60s. I mean,
Those are like
you name it,
advanced
I got
dice.
it.
Those are like advanced dice. If you're starting out playing D&D and you go to a game shop and you want to buy a set of dice, like you're gonna get like that set.
Yeah, you're
We're
going to get the
trying
basic
not scare
7.
him. Hang on, we're trying
You're
to
gonna get the
ease them in.
Yeah.
No, those are for those of us
He's
that have
already
an
in the
addiction
advanced level.
problem, you know?
Hey,
So
come
this
on,
one
Alex.
looks like a regular one.
Yeah, that's a D6.
Yeah, that's a D6.
That's
You
a
see
regular
that in
D6.
Vegas. They're usually white with black dots on them, or black
Yeah.
with white dots, or
Yeah.
white with red dots, or you can get it. There's so
So
many
what's
different
the-
things, but
That's
a
the
20.
D20.
That's okay. So this is
12.
That's a D12.
That D12
12.
right
This
there.
is a 20, and
That's a
That's
D10.
a D10.
so many.
No,
It's
that's-
so
yeah,
many.
that's a 10.
That's a 10.
There's so many dice in there.
Let's make this easy. To really play this game, you don't even need dice. I'm gonna go back to the original Dungeon Master's Guide. The very first line Gary Gygax wrote in the foreword was, "This is a game of imagination and not rules."
Yeah. He's
So
not
a
wrong.
lot of times when I DM, I'm like, "Hey, tell me what you're doing," and if it drives the narrative forward, fine. I might make them roll something. I might say, "Hey, roll this," just for the hell of it, because the dice that's probably used the least in this game is a D12, unless you're carrying something big. Generally, because D4s, the small triangle ones, and I'm going to get into lore a little bit about why that, because Corey's question was by why dice with so many sides, and Alex did a great job explaining the dice. The lore behind it is the D4 was literally designed by Gary Gygax because he did not like flipping a coin. The coin is technically the smallest dice you could have as a coin.
Yeah,
D2.
technically they're called D2s.
Yeah, D2s, you flip a coin, it's head or tails. A lot of times as you get more experience, you do that with more variability, saying, hey, even or odd, high or low, based on whatever you want to do. But he created the D4 because he didn't like, he did not like flipping dice. It was flipping a coin because it was, probability was always 50%. You flip a dice enough, you're going to have heads 50% time tails 50%. He wanted a little bit of randomness to it. He also did it because, as a joke to one of the guys that played with him, is he would always step on things. Well, he made it so if you stepped on it, it hurt. It looks like a caltrop from the old medieval days. He did that. He designed it that way on purpose. The D6 everybody's saying it's probably one of the more common dice in the game after a D20 for damage and for different things, because everybody's got them. Monopoly, Yahtzee, it's common. He didn't want people to spend the money on that one. He wanted to spend money on the other things. Then the D8, the D10, just to do different things. Because back in the original D&D, back in AD&D, and even basic, each weapon had a different damage type to it. It's a little bit more standardized now. A lot of the difference between a short sword and whatever is the same dice. It's the same type of damage, where it used to be, because in the movies, you watch Indiana Jones, this guy comes out in the first movie and he's got these scimitars. You think, oh man, those are really cool. And he comes out with a whip, and then he's like, heck with that, I'm just going to shoot him, right? That's kind of what he was trying to get into with the lore of why he built the dicey way. He was trying to find a way to make the ability to hit somebody more random. That's why the D20 came about. And it was actually the co-founder, help me out with his name, guys, that helped with Gary, came up with the idea of the D20. And that's the basis of a lot of different games. Blades in the Dark, Traveler, you name it. That's the basic, because it's 5% chance per number. And depending on what you do, and I'm old enough where these guys worked under a different system than I worked under, where it's like, hey, I need this to hit. I say you just roll your die, and I say you need a 10 or better to hit. Well, that's a 55% chance you're going to win that hit. So it's all about creating some way to put math into a war game that you can play quickly. That is the like I said, this is a combat simulator at first. That's what he designed it for. A cannon did more damage than a musket, did more than a bayonet. And that's why he literally created different damage size.
But multi-sided die aren't entirely new.
No, they've been around for decades.
It's kind of like the idea, the modern idea of multi-sided die came around with Dungeons and Dragons, but I mean, D20s existed in ancient Greece. Like they've been around for a hot minute. And they've been used in different instances. It's just that, it just kind of comes and goes with time, just like most everything.
Yeah, so it's definitely, he did that. I mean, Egyptians had, I think, what version of the D10 or whatever it was. Something like that. It was a little bit different form. It was more elongated, but it was the same idea. They used it for whatever games of chance they were playing versus just flipping a coin.
Yep.
Good stuff. At least I have a better understanding as to why, and what it all means now.
So here's the easiest thing.
I was trying to explain it. I was like, huh?
You said your daughter is trying to teach you how to play, right? And helping out John Bernthal, who played the Punisher, who played Shane in The Walking Dead. Who is he talking with? The lady who does the D&D stuff?
Felicia Day?
Yeah, Felicia Day was talking with him. He's like, I don't know anything about it. She said, hey, what are you? Well, no, I got a bow. Hey, great. You're out walking the woods and you hear something snap. What do you do? Well, I look. Okay, well, what do you do? I mean, he never rolled dice at all. He just said, here's what I did. That's how simple the game can be. You're just telling a story collectively.
Okay. It's just collaboration, imagination, and a little bit of math.
Here's the funny part. Being a former teacher, hearing kids, well, I never use algebra. What's the first thing? Hey, man, I'm 30 feet up in the air with a levitation spell. Guy 60 feet away. If I fall and you start doing Pythagorean theorem in your head. You're trying to figure out, can I hit him from here?
What is my range? How many squares away am I?
There's so many different things you can do.
So, I want to get into the character sheets before we get into one of your most memorable campaigns that you were in that you want to kind of share with everybody before I take a little break. Fox, I kind of want you to lead this conversation. When it comes to the character sheets, first of all, how do you fill them out, and what should be some of the things that you should look for when you're trying to create your own character?
Okay, well, first of all, you kind of you need an idea of what you want to play. Like what kind of, do you want to play a rogue? Do you want to play, a sorcerer? Do you want to play a fighter? What do you want to do? Magic damage? Do you want to, be a protector? Kind of have that in mind, and you also kind of want to decide what kind of race you want to be, and different races have different kinds of advantages to them. Like if you're a human, really you get like an extra ability from the player's handbook that you get to choose from. If you're an elf, you have like night vision, and different other races have like other languages that they know. So there are advantages to which race you want to be. I'm usually pretty boring. I just choose human because I want that extra ability. that I get to choose out of the player's handbook. But you start out by rolling for your different stats, and that's strength, constitution, dexterity, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. And different DMs choose to do it different ways. Either you can, a lot of them just you roll 3 dice, you take the sum of those, and that's for strength, and then the next 3 that's for dexterity, and so on and so forth. We did ours to where we roll 4, take out the lowest one, and then that was what, and you could put it wherever you wanted. I mean, there's different ways you can make that. You also want to choose an alignment. So your alignment is how your character acts, and if you are really wanting to get into D&D, you kind of throw yourself into that character. So the different alignments are: there's good, neutral, and evil, and then there's also lawful, neutral, and chaotic. So you can, if you wanted to play, say, as yourself, just be yourself, you would pretty much be like a chaotic neutral character, because you have more of a free will of what you want to do. Then you kind of act more like yourself. If you want to be kind of like a Lex Luthor, very cunning, you'd be like a lawful evil. Like lawful is they go by a almost kind of like a code exactly of how they assume things they want it to be. Chaotic is more like the Joker, and obviously good and evil, that's to itself. But you kind of choose a combination there, and that's how you play the character. So you've got your stats, you've got your race, you've got your you can make a background for your character. Hey, this is how I came to be an archer. I watched my father, in the fields. He was gunned down by an archer, so you decided to become an archer so that you could kill the man who killed your father using the same technique that he used, as a form of karmic justice, whatever you want to make up. Those are the most important parts of kind of like the foundation of your character.
Definitely.
I had no idea you can even customize it. So, okay.
No, you customize you do customize it even more in depth. But as far as just a basic, someone starting out, that's the thing you want to kind of focus on at first. You want to decide that stuff, then you can go into like your saves, like the numbers that that's going to be partially dictated by the class you are. You do, and that's another thing. Like I said, you want to decide you want to be a magic user or a fighter or something like that. Well, there's all kinds of different classes. You can be a cleric, you can be a fighter, you can be a barbarian, you could be a sorcerer. Sorcerers and wizards operate completely different, even though they're both magic users. Sorcerers have the magic ingrained in them, and they always know their spells, whereas wizards have to wake up and prepare which spells they want to use every morning. So it's very, on a technical basis, it's very different. A lot of people make fun of bards, but if you play a bard right, it can be an extremely powerful class. But if they don't just sit there and play an instrument and do nothing, they can actually completely turn the tide of a lot of things.
Yeah, it really depends on how you build that.
Exactly. I had not my story, but I worked at GameStop, and my manager had a bard in a D&D session. They took away, his party got captured. They took away all their weapons, but he had a proficiency in whistling. So he was able to charm the guards by whistling, got all the treasures from their vault, and then escaped just by being able to whistle and charm the guards. So it depends on how you want to, you want to set your character up as to, you're playing your character how you want to. Everybody else, you don't really necessarily know what they're going to make, but you just kind of have to make the party work. as Keith was saying earlier, in the Lord of the Rings, when the hobbits and the dwarf and the elf and the humans come together and the wizard, they didn't all know that they were going to, go on the fellowship, but they had to come together and use their skills in a way that made it work.
Yeah, I'd love to hear Justin's, because being the younger demographic, everybody. I think Fox and I are probably the two oldest here. It's like I want to hear the younger demographic, because Justin said a word that's very close to my heart and how I play is called homebrew, and we approach characters differently in homebrew.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's like, because I know I haven't done homebrew yet, but I've done a lot of campaigns with the usual D&D characters and all that kind of stuff on D&D Beyond, and I build my sheets through D&D Beyond on that site. So
yeah, because the other way to look at this, not to cut you off, Ash, but just another way to look at it is if you have an idea for somebody, Aragon, Frodo, Robin Hood. You want to be you want to be the bear in Jungle Book. If you have that, you then create the character to fit that idea, and not the other way around.
Right, and then you can take it your own direction if you want to.
Yeah.
I mean, you're inevitably going to, based on the way the DM plays the story out and sets the rules, and because I'll tell you, I was only a DM once and it went terribly, but you can throw anything you want at a DM and they've got to change the way that they cannot be expecting that you're going to follow this path they've laid out. They really need to have because they might say, well, definitely. there's a city to the north. It's shining in gold. You've got to go there. You've got to rescue the princess. Just whatever. Okay, well, we're going to go west into the woods and look for a cave. Well, then they've got to come up with something. They may not have planned for that. And if you try to steer your party into specific situations, they're going to screw you every single time.
Yep, I agree. Yeah. This isn't Wizards of the Oz. You may put a yellow brick road out in front of them, but this goes back to the idea of player agencies. You don't want to do what's called railroading, which is, hey, here's sometimes you do force them into something because you need the story to move forward. But it's pretty rare nowadays that you do this. A lot of it is like, hey, here's the wizard. Hey, let's go over here and kill this person for no reason. You'll see that randomly at times. Or, hey, let's go save this cat that's stuck up in a tree. And you're like, how do you see a cat? Well, they made it up in their mind, and now it's there. So you have to be really good with improv as a game master and as players. I mean, because if Xena's playing and she says something, and I'm like, hey, we're doing this, and all of a sudden the spider attacks me, and Xena's next in the line to fight, she's got to play off of what I'm doing as a player.
But she doesn't have to.
But she also goes, screw him, I don't like him in real life. He deals with it. I'm going to go over here and pet the ferret for all I know.
Yeah, and the whole thing with just deciding, you know what, I'm just going to kill this person, it's been that sort of chaos in groups is pervasive enough that entire slang terms have formed around this kind of action. So in terms of, I'm just going to randomly murder somebody, now you're a murder hobo. And that's just what you're called.
Well,
yeah.
Because the idea of murder hobos as in a bunch of travelers who do nothing but wander from point A to point B, killing everything in sight, looting the bodies, and saying, how much money do I get? How much gear do I get? How much XP do I get? And there's no paying attention to plot. There's no story. It's literally just, how long can these serial killers get away with ravaging the land? That's sometimes what some games will devolve into if there is a toxic enough relationship between players and dungeon masters that everyone is just here.
It's just a derailment.
Everyone here is here to have a bad time now.
I'll tell you
a really short story about derailment. We played one session, mind you, because the DM gave up after this. We played an all evil session, and we came out of a cave, and we saw a town down the path, and he was not expecting it at all. We ran down the path and slaughtered every man, woman, and child in the town, and he was expecting us to try to maybe go down and get some information and use some underhanded tactics to gather what we needed. No, we just killed everybody. And so he's like, okay. And then like the next session, we just changed to something else.
Yeah, that goes back to the idea, and I'll just kind of address
That's
what Alex
nuts.
said, because the idea of a murder hobo goes back all the way to the origin of the game. Gary Gygax hated his players. Everything was designed to kill you. So our response was we killed everything in return. I mean, and Murder Hobo has been around since I came in. I've been playing since '81. Murder Hobo has a name now. Beforehand, it was just like, hey, we're going to do this.
That's just
because,
what you're doing.
Yeah, because the game rules were set up to kill you. Gary Gygax created a game because he wanted to do a military game, and he got turned into a fantasy game, which he did not want. But he lived off of Tomb of Horrors is probably the best known original module from the original D&D. It's been redone. It's called Tomb of Annihilation now, and it's been, no offense, it's been watered down. It was set based on the level of the characters. This was like 18th level characters, which is way up there. And the thing was, it was designed to not be solvable puzzle. It was designed to kill everybody that went into it. I have never met anybody that made it through that dungeon back in the original D&D. So we got to the point where people were like, heck with this, we'll make 50 level 1 characters each, take 200 people in and see if anybody can survive. I mean, why else would he have a 10-foot wooden pole in the equipment thing? Well, the traps, the tiles were 10-foot squares back then. A trap took up 10 feet of space. So you had to have a pole to get across it. If you didn't have it, it didn't exist. It had weight to it. You had to deal with encumbrance. There's a lot of different things. In the old D&D, the classes had alignments with them. Paladins were lawful good. You were the goody two-shoes. You were the Carltons from Fresh Prince. You were that uptight and goody good. But you had these different powers, and everybody was different. But Gary Gygax designed the game to kill people. Of course, we're going to kill people back. And it's almost become a meme now, if I look at it right. But Brandon Lee Mulligan's another DM that I really, really enjoy. Dimension 20.
Dimension 20.
I love him. And he, Abria Iyengar, and Matt Mercer, who's from Purple Roll, sat down and did a round table. And he goes, here's how I look at it. Me, Keith, is at odds with my character. I'll use Riley, which is from my oldest son's campaign. We're at odds with each other. And he goes, me, I want to have fun. She's just wanting to complete a mission. Right? Riley's based off of Mrs. Frisbee from the Rats of Nim. The youngest daughter, Jessica, is who she's based off. So it's like, okay, Jessica would want to do this. And so I'm trying to play all this in this realm. And he goes, my job is, it's like water going down a hill. My job is to put things in the way to divert the water, because I know as Keith, I would be upset if I got to the end too quickly in a game. You worked at GameStop box. Somebody goes and wins, Zelda in the first hour. How many are you going to sell? They want you to sit around. World of Warcraft, they want you to sit around for hours and hours. Same idea as a game master. I want you to go on this adventure, and I'm going to put different things in the way to divert that water, but still try to take the shortest path possible. And so when people go off rail, as we call it, go into town, and all evil campaigns are actually harder to play than normal campaigns. I've done a few of those, both sides of that. It's one of those things. It's like, okay, this is a collaborative event, and the group's like, hey, let's go kill everybody. It's like, you as a game master understand you have to keep things in line too. If it doesn't fit the narrative, hey, great, you go in and start killing. No, Zeus shows up and strikes you with lightning bolts. The ground opens, you drop into the 9th level of hell and have to deal with Asmodeus. Go deal with him. The Lord of the Devils. I mean, there's ways to deal with players like that. It just, a lot of the GMs, the newer GMs don't understand you're a player in this too, as much as the players are. So yeah, have fun with it. Yeah, if you can walk into town and you kill everybody, I guarantee you're going to hate me, Fox. I got some tricks. Spells don't work. They work in reverse. One letter is different.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm learning a lot. And if you are like a very imaginative person, I think that if you have a pretty good imagination, you can definitely get into it. And I was just remembering as you were talking, my daughter has had campaigns at the house, but of course I'm in my room, I'm doing something else. But every now and again, I walk by. Oh, you were talking about the bard's charming. She had charmed herself out of getting her beheaded or something. And I was like, and this is me walking by in passing, and I'm like, wait a minute, what's happening? Right now, I almost got
your best thing, AJ. Your best thing, just sit down next time she plays and just listen. Don't say anything, don't play, just go and ask, hey, what did you do this? Why is this how? And just be, as a parent, both my sons play. My parents watched me play. My granddaughter is starting to get interested. She's 6. She's like, why does Grandpa have these dice? So, I mean, she understands story playing. Kids are natural. But yeah, just sit down and listen. I mean, Xena, Alex, Justin, would you say the same thing? Just sit down and listen?
Yeah, I would do. Yeah.
Ask questions. Why did you roll it like that? What does this mean? Why do you add this to this but not to this? I mean, you slowly learn the rules, and then you already have the imagination. Then and a good DM and a good party will help you. Like I didn't know what I was doing the first time, and I was like, what do I do here? Well, just you roll these dice, and you just keep. The more you play, the more you pick it up.
He's disagreeing.
Okay.
Yeah,
go for it.
So I definitely endorse. So let me take a step back and I'll say I endorse spending time with your family and learning about the D&D campaigns that they're actively in by passively watching and seeing if the game interests you, if the players interest you, if the table interests you, because that all matters. But at the end of the day, if you are trying to learn the game of D&D, there is nothing as effective as simply doing. And
right.
There is nothing more. There is nothing more basic than just what I love that was brought up earlier was the simple idea of just what do you have, and using those basic questions to help someone build an identity of a basic character, and then just don't even ask them any advanced questions. Just hand them a level 1 character sheet and let them experience a session 0 where they essentially just are in a little playground, just you and the GM as the game master with them as a player. Give them some rolls to make.
I think it's
okay.
I think that what we're talking about rather though is less about actually learning how to play the game and more about judging your interest in learning how to play, because if you just say, well, I think this could be interesting, and you just throw somebody a character sheet and go, okay, you do it now, that's not necessarily going to be have the greatest impact when it comes to actually deciding whether or not that's something that you would find enjoyable. I would say that some people are like that. There are definitely other people who are more about what you're talking about, which is you gain interest by doing and seeing if you like it. but so much effort sometimes has to go into doing the character creation and all that sort of stuff, and they also don't know really how to use their imagination, that without some sort of primer, they're just walking in blind and they don't know what they're doing.
Okay,
and then they're going to lose interest because they're asking a bunch of questions about what the heck they're supposed to be doing and how they're supposed to be using that imagination muscle that has been shut down for however many years.
That also goes back to, I think, learning styles and also just what people have used to engage their brains and how they've been used to develop and train their brains. So I acknowledge your points.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm just watching a wisdom-based character versus an intelligence-based character, and this is fun to watch.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I just know it. Too many years as a GM, it's like you get a wisdom-based character versus an intelligence-based character. I just love that dynamic.
Hey, so what I'm going to do, and Keith, I do understand that you were kind of like on the time thing. If you can come back, because I'm going to take a 3-minute break.
Yeah, I'll be here.
My daughter just. Okay, beautiful. So 3-minute break, and we're going to get into the campaigns. Like, I want to know what is your most memorable or the funnest campaign that you've actually been a part of. Okay. So we're going to take about 3 minutes. I'll be right back.
There's a D30 for you guys, by the way.
Oh, dope.
30.
Yeah, D30,
Oh, that is
30-sided
nice.
dice. 30-sided dice. Very random. I'm a dice goblin.
You know, and when we come back, I actually have one more question about die too, but I will be right back. And All right, SFL Nation, we are back. We are back. Let me make sure I got this volume right. And we have added Mr. Zach Benjamin. He did show up, and I'm so glad that you're here, man. Yes, so you got your camera working too. Dope, man. You're muted. Actually, everybody's muted.
Oh, yeah,
What's going on, Zach?
Hey, what's going on, guys? Well, now I got the camera working. Now I gotta get the light working. Yeah, what is going on with this camera? Let me get the right light.
Baby steps.
Yeah. It was a long road, but I got it.
So I had a question. Good. I'm so glad you're here, man. Thank you so much for being here.
Glad to be here.
So I had a question about the dice, right? So why are there so many different, like, okay, so I went to a place called Baxter's. It's like a D&D kind of geared store. Anything you want, you can actually go in, paint your figurines, and they can sell it for you. You can keep them for yourself. You can actually, I think they give you like 60% of the profit or something like that. But I was so overwhelmed with so many different types of die that they have. I mean, there's some that are really heavy, like metal, like you throw it at somebody, you're knocking them out. There's some that are like really light and plasticky. So obviously, different weights will roll differently. Is it better to have weighted die?
No.
You're playing?
Weighted dice.
There's a difference between weighted dice and dice being made out of different materials. If you have what would be considered a weighted die, then it's going to be weighted to rolling towards a specific number, which you don't want, because technically that's kind of like cheating.
That's not technically. That's
just cheating. But in terms of like having dice made out of resin versus dice made out of metal versus dice made out of, sometimes you can get them made out of crystals. The majority of the time, that's just aesthetic. You just like the way that it looks. You like the way that it feels. Some people do prefer the way that it rolls. But I mean, it's really up to the player at that point.
The only caveat I would say to that is be careful. If you have a really nice table, do not roll metal dice across it unless you have something down between it and the wood, because it will leak
like
this.
Ooh, this is a dice.
Look at you.
You would need something like this.
Yeah, or you can use dice towers or whatever. There's so many different things. Dice are cool. I mean, it's marketing, first of all, but I mean, you saw, we're grabbing bags of dice. I still have my dice from 40 years ago. And in fact, my oldest son has them in New York now. He has my dice from 40 years ago from that first box, the plastic ones, which aren't even resin. They're just, they have a weird balance to them. You do it, but it's definitely marketing. And those of us with addictions for dice, it's just more stuff for us to spend our money on.
Yep.
Yeah, my buddy had 100-sided dice.
Yeah, I really want to see Keith's 100-sided die. Actually.
I don't actually have 100 here in this set. We have it at our big one. It's like a big jawbreaker, about the size of this, and we'll roll it, and everybody will have their arms around the table, so it won't roll off the table because it takes that long to make a decision, because it just keeps going and going because the angles are so shallow.
Yeah, it's just so small because it has to fit on a sphere, but in order for it to be a reasonable size, it has to be small enough. So it's not like you could make the dice the size of a baseball. Like, that wouldn't be reasonable.
It's definitely bigger than a golf ball. I know that. Yeah. And when you roll it, it's got some weight. It's like, it rolls. It's like rolling metal dice almost with that heft to it.
Yeah, the one my buddy had, it was like maybe like this big, but it was encased had something around it. So that way, it would roll inside like the thing. So you roll it, but it's not like you're rolling like a regular dice. It would roll inside like what it was encased in, and that's kind of how
it
you
was
did
suspended
That's cool.
in something, basically.
Kind of, yeah.
That's pretty neat. Like a magic 8-ball.
Pretty much. I mean, it's there just to do different things, because you can do a percentage die. But I mean, what's more fun is like, hey, you got a 1 in 100 chance of something happening. Let's roll it. You might actually roll the 1, because it on a 1 out of a true 100 versus percentages. The probability actually goes up with 2 dice. So it's just little things you play with. But yeah, it's marketing for sure. I mean, like I showed you, Zach, I wasn't sure. So this is a 30-sided die. So I mean, there's different ones. I'm trying to remember which bag I have. I don't know. I have one bag of nothing but D20s. The small bag, my travel bag. This is just D20s. There's I think 60 of them in there, and there's probably another 40 or 50 in my bigger bag. And when I DM, no, I never roll the same dice. And when I do things, every time it's totally random because I really work down the line. So I can't say that, hey, I got a hot die. No, everybody knows when a dice is rolling hot.
You got to put them in dice jail.
No, you got to roll the same die. Eventually, the probability will come up.
Yeah, I mean, eventually, a natural 1 is like automatic failure. I don't care what your mods are. I'm one of these people, and like a natural 20 on combat rolls specifically, not skill checks, but combat rolls. Let's say you're sitting there and you roll a die. Let's say you roll your D20, Ashley, and you roll a 1.
You missed.
You may have done something like that, and that dagger could have broke. It could have slid out of your hand. That's where
you could have accidentally stabbed yourself.
You hurt yourself, yeah. So the axe hits you in the foot.
You always got to go with the juju. Always go with the juju.
And just to give you an idea, I have special dice that are designed. Okay, if you did this, you hit them. Okay, I roll. Well, you hit them you cut off your left ear, or you hit your own foot. Oh, I mean, I have dice that allow me to specify where damage is as well. But to go back to the D100, we actually have a dice spinner. It's a metal thing that it spins and it has different rows for the different dice. So if we do something really important, we'll spin that versus our own dice because we know which ones are hot and which ones need to be in jail. Everybody knows, oh, that yellow one rolls like crap. I'm not touching it. Automatically gets pushed away. But if you do that dice spinner, it's totally random.
Huh. Good stuff, guys. Good stuff. I just rolled something. I don't think that was a good one. I rolled my D20 and I got a 3. Whatever just happened to me.
So let's do this. Let's put this in. Alex and I can play off of each other here, maybe a little bit on this one. Hey, you're doing this. You're trying to sneak past Alex the guard, right? And you roll a 3. Well, understand your race that you're playing has some abilities. Well, if you're a hobbit, a halfling, like from Lord of the Rings and Frodo Baggins, you have some advantages due to your size and give you some bonuses. Or if you're this really big towering Goliath thing, it's like half giant basically. You don't have that. You have a negative.
Take penalties, yeah.
You take penalties, so it's like we can do this. So do this. And then, Alex, roll your D20 real quick, please, too.
Well, I have just rolled a 3 myself, so
depending on your balances, here's how it is. Like, hey, great. Like I said earlier, it doesn't. If it's a skill check, you were checking skills here. You tell me what you're trying to do, and Alex is telling me what he's doing, and it may be like, hey, I did this. I'm trying to sneak by. You may have stepped on a branch, but he's over there, picking his nose, or has headphones or something, and he may not have heard it, or you may have just moved out of the way. It doesn't mean it's automatically bad. It just means,
right.
How do we tell the story?
Okay. Because if I had to choose, I would be a magical archer. Because see, what I don't want, my thing is, every time I would look at
arcane archer, she's an arcane archer already.
Already there.
Already there.
Already done.
That or she just spams magic missile 1 to 2.
We got you.
I don't want people walking up on me. See, that's one of that gives archery a bad name when people just, if you get past that bow, you're gonna come and you're just gonna stab me. No, we're not doing that. Like, I want to be able to cast something and protect while I shoot you.
I'm thinking Gloomstalker already. She can fight if she needs to. But no, it's just it comes out. The dice are part of it. They help tell the story, but they're not the end all be all. I mean, and we talked about this. Fox talked about his first character sheet. I remember my first character sheet. The abilities used to dictate what you could be. Now it's like, here's what I want to do, and we make them fit to what I want. And that helps tell it. So when I roll dice, it's not about a failure or a success. It's like, what's the narrative telling me? It's like, hey, maybe you're in there, you're a detective, you're blues cluing this thing, and you forgot to write something down on your handy dandy notebook, and all of a sudden you're like, what did that say? Oh, I forgot to write it down. That could be a 3.
Okay.
Or your crayon broke. It's something like it's that simple. That's that collaborative storytelling between the game master and the player and the other players and the environment. And there's so much going on. But man, Brendan, I don't know what you guys think, but I think Brendan Lee Mulligan does probably the best job of that.
Yeah.
I love it.
Calamity when he did the Tree of Life, and it took him, what was it, 45 minutes to do it, 1 second in time, was amazing. If you don't play D&D and you just watch that segment, you're a creative person, you're like, wow. The storytelling was amazing.
See, I'm halfway there. I'm creative. I just had to know how everything worked, So I think.
No, you don't. Just do it. Just do it, Ashley. Just jump in, both feet.
Honestly, if you tried to learn how to do everything all at once, you would immediately get turned off.
You're going to get confused about it.
Yeah, you're going to get confused. It's going to be overwhelming, and then you're going to be like, "This is too much." But honestly, just if you like you said, if you're creative and you have an inkling of what you want to do, and you already have some interest whatsoever, just fuck it, just do it. Just. There's no reason not to if you know people that know what they're doing, because they'll be able to guide you along the way and help you learn the rules and what to do and what not to do, and then you'll pick up how to make better decisions and and how to use your imagination more creatively and all that sort of stuff.
Stop looking at me like you're volunteering me.
No, Alex, we're all looking at you. We're all volunteering you.
I'm running a league.
Now, I'll tell you right now, Ashley. My oldest son lives in upstate New York. He literally lives on the St. Lawrence River. He walks out his back door and looks at Canada. That's how far north in New York he is. Wow. We play on Sundays. We take turns. There's 6 of us actually, and we take turns who does different aspects of the campaign. We play on Zoom. I'm in Southern California, so I'm on Zoom. They're there at the table. There's 5 of them plus me, and they're at the table. They have me on multiple cell phones and cameras, and I have a camera that looks down at the table, so that I can control from where I'm at. But you're more welcome to hop in and just listen to us, because my oldest son is DMing this part of the campaign. I did a segment of it, which was basically, if you guys know anything about the book 6 of Crows or the book Shadow and Bone. If you watch the Netflix series Shadow and Bone, 6 of Crows, it's based on it. So they were all thieves inside this city. And this thieves guild ran everything from the king on down. And they're part of this. Well, my son now took over. We're in a different part of this world. World building is what I like to do. I don't care about campaigns. I want to build worlds and lore and all that stuff. Now we're in an Oriental setting. So my character is based on Kubo and the 2 strings.
Nice.
We have a guy based off of Wolverine. And we're all like, I'm the youngest. I'm 14. My character is 14. But I have the highest charisma, which is I'm really good at influencing and persuading people. But I'm also a bard, so I can play my various music. So one of my instruments I purposely picked as we're traveling is bagpipes, because I know one of our other players hates bagpipes. Personally, he himself hates bagpipes. So I'm playing bagpipes as we're traveling. And I'm rolling 19s and 20s on my performance checks. And they're like, wax in the ear, and we have a husband and a wife playing, and she's like the oldest sister. We're all kind of orphan type thing. And but that collaboration, but we've also been playing together as a group for going on 5 years now, maybe 6.
Nice.
This way.
Nice.
I mean, I've shown up.
I would love to. I'd love to sit in.
Yeah, I'll send you the Zoom link, and you can just pop in on us and just listen and say hi to the guys. I mean, everybody's really cool. And you can ask Justin, who's one who hates bagpipe music, how I did. And I play the younger brother extremely well. I'm annoying, but also inquisitive and having fun. But I play like Kubo.
Love it. Okay. I'm looking forward to it. Make sure you remember to send that link. I'll make sure I get.
Yeah, we
get a chance
play
to,
at
watch it.
2 o'clock California time on Sunday afternoons, and we usually schedule 4 to 5 hours if we do, because they're in New York, so they're 3 hours ahead of me, so it'll be 2 hours ahead of you. So you'd be 3 o'clock your time. If your daughter wants to sit in and listen, that's fine too. Ask questions. We're all very good at answering questions, because of the 5 people that play, all 5 of us are DMs.
I love it.
A lot of knowledge.
I love it. So sounds like it. So let's get into the campaigns, everybody. I want to know. I'm gonna start with you first, Keith, because I know you got to go to bed.
Come on, I've only been up since 2:30 my time.
I know you.
I've been up since 2:30 a.m. this morning.
2:30 a.m.
Yeah. So it would be 3:30 a.m. your time. You're in Arizona.
You running on fumes? Okay, well. Yeah, I'm gonna let you go first here, so you get your
campaign-wise. I know you guys.
What was your favorite campaign?
My favorite campaign, and my favorite moment in a campaign, because it was 2 different things.
Your favorite campaign?
Probably my favorite campaign is probably one of the first ones I did. We were playing. It's actually with my best friend Scott and his older brother Jeff, whose parents were both lawyers. So you can imagine what Monopoly was like with them. They knew every rule. I lost so bad. But we would play, and technically that campaign has never ended from 1985. We will occasionally get back together and continue. We still have those character sheets, and we will still play under AD&D rules, the original rules that we played under, whenever we see each other. And it's been 8 years since we played, 10 years since we played. But we'll do that every so often. Scott spent 24 years in the U.S. Army. He's overseas. He went to West Point. So we do this, and Jeff lives in South Carolina. We'll just pop on every so often. We'll hey, and we'll be randomly. It's like, hey, no, you remember we're doing this? Yeah. Hey, let's continue it. And we'll talk. We won't even roll dice. Here's what's going on. Here's the action. Here's what's going on. Favorite moment was probably when I showed up to New York, my oldest son's birthday, when he turned 30. So he'll be turning 33 here later this month. So it was 3 years ago. I flew in, and the game master they had, he was very much a rules as written or raw. He knew the rules. The term is called power gaming. He would build characters to take advantage of all the rules. Well, he's running this based off of the game Monster Hunter. I think Fox, you might know that game. I had no clue what it is. He's like doing this. He's like, so I said, just roll me up something. I hadn't really played 5e a lot, so I didn't know much. He goes, you're gonna be this teenage female warlock. I'm like, oh, okay. So I read up on it real quick. I'm like, oh, okay. I went packed at a certain pack because we're playing like 3rd or 4th level and had a subclass. I played as a moody, emo, teenage warlock that walked in there and used darkness for everything. So I was Wednesday Addams in everything I did. And he's walked in and he's like, yeah, we got this thing to do this. And I'm like, yeah, I cast darkness right here. And I rolled well. The creature couldn't see. The people inside there, even our own party members, had to roll randomly which direction they were walking inside the darkness. And doing this and watching his face, and I walked up there and I know, because I had the ability to talk with animals, I just asked the creature for one of its feathers, which is what we need to get, and I got it and I left. And this guy to this day rage quit after that as a DM. He's done. He won't even talk to anybody, and he lives in the same town as my oldest son. He won't even talk to us after that.
They take it serious.
Boo.
Power gamer. I don't like power gamers. I'm a real cool guy. I like the story. I like, you build characters, and to me, we go back to character creation. Having a backstory is more important to me. I don't care if it's one sentence. I don't care if it's a character idea. Hey, I want to be the Mask from Jim Carrey. Okay, let's go. Hey, I want to be Van Morrison, or I want to be Jimi Hendrix, or I want to be this as a bard. Go for it. My oldest son, when he played in my campaign, John was DMing. He was a bard by the name of John Brown. Well, he was actually he was half elven, his family was basically the Elven Mafia. Well, his background is Frank Sinatra, but he was trying to play as Prince. So everything was his Prince until his fiance showed up, and all of a sudden he's dressed up, suit and tie, crooner, and everybody's like going, "What the hell? Your name's not John, it's Giovanni?" We had no clue. And this is my oldest son, and he and I talk daily about D&D when we're building campaigns.
I love it.
But that's the thing. You can build things however you want. And I'll see if I can find, if anybody's got the John Bernthal thing with What's Her Face, send it to Ashley. I think she'd love it.
And it could be, I think what I like about this whole thing is that it could be anything that you want it to be. It's no set stone. There's no set, well, I mean, there are rules, but like, there's no like set way you have to do it. So like Zena was saying that she did a Pokemon, rendition, so I like that. Justin, tell me about yours. Your favorite campaign, and then your favorite campaign moment.
Yeah, click the mute button down at the bottom, Justin, so you take yourself off.
Sorry.
There you go. Wait, I'm sorry. I tried to unmute you for you.
Okay.
Ashley rolled a 1 on that.
Anyway,
Ashley, deception check.
Anyway. Well, I was part of this campaign that Justice Blackwell was running. You all know Justice Blackwell, the wide receiver that used to play for. I'm trying to think what the last team played for. Yeah, Vancouver. We were doing a campaign called Midnight Falls, and oh my God, it's when we started this campaign. It's like half. I think there's Tazzy, Ace, me, and I think Charlie Baker are the only 4 that left. Only 4, only 4 that we know of that are still in the SFL, and then the other 3, it was Justice, Isabella Blackwell, and So we started this campaign. It was so fun, and I mean, this favorite moment. It's like the favorite moment when we met. I think what the hell? Oh yeah, Captain Blackwell. Tazzy was all over that character. I'm like, oh my God.
You said he attacked somebody?
No. She was all over like, oh my God, I love that character. Blah 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 blah. She loved that character. Oh my God. We were all. That was. I'm like when Joseph created that character for our campaign, and then Tazzy loved him. I'm like, Tazzy, what are you doing with your character? Kind of a thing.
Hey, sometimes I hear some of these characters can be real charming, and you develop the feelings. So, oh, he's kind of cute. I like the way you built him.
That goes back to Matt Mercer and all his villains being cute, supposedly.
That we haven't heard from you all night, man.
Who, me?
Yeah. Your favorite campaign and your favorite moments within a campaign. It doesn't have to be the same one.
All right, so I've only played D&D once. So when I played it was my first time playing, and like my friends were like different kind of group of guys. So if you ever seen everybody here, I'm pretty sure you've seen the Key and Peele sketch. So like our D&D moments were kind of like that. Like I was a psionic shade, so I guess like I had psionic powers. I didn't know what I was doing, so I'm using my powers to kind of like do things that have absolutely no relevance to the game whatsoever. And like every time I do it, like instead of taking me seriously, they just like clown me for like a straight half hour every time. So I could say like I'm trying to show. I could say like, all right, like we're getting ready to go into battle or whatever. I'm trying to use my powers to look down the road and see like what's coming, and like all making fun. Oh, he's using his powers to look down the road. Da 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 da. I wonder what he sees there, like that kind of thing. So it was pure comedy for us. It really after like,
They didn't try to help. They didn't try to like God,
No.
you, hey, don't do that.
Hey, I will say something from being a veteran player, dogging him like that is helping him. Because it helps
Oh, that
us
is-
leave it food and not get mad at him. So,
Yeah.
it helps out.
Yeah, I guess you could call it tough love.
Love it, man. Love it. So you gonna play again at some point?
Oh, I'd love to, man. It's just I don't really in my area. I don't know anybody who plays D&D, and I've seen I know people that do the online thing, but I'm like the online thing. It's just I don't know. It would be hard to get used to because it just seems like it takes something away from it. Not to say that you can't, it can't be done. I just me personally like I have to see it and like all right,
Be
maybe
there.
yeah,
Yes.
but it's just something about everybody being there, and then it's got the immersion. I guess is kind of different.
There you go. Okay. Get that. Fox, what about you?
All right, buckle up, Ashley.
Oh, God.
Oh no!
All right.
Oh boy!
So we played an epic level game, and basically what that is in a normal campaign, then the level maxes out at 20. But there are different books among the many books you can have of it that you can do an epic level campaign and go up to I believe 30. Probably other books that you can go even higher. So we did a level 25 campaign, and I played an archer. And I mean, I had just so you can kind of get a feel of how different that is. An archer can shoot so far. Well, in an epic level campaign, if you're an epic level archer, if I could see it, even if it was a dot on the horizon, I could hit it technically.
Ooh.
So,
Yes, I won't.
so me and my best friend in the game, we were best friends as well, and we got together with this basically on another player's quest from her god to do something. I can't remember what it was, but the DM had a character that was. We believe it was along the evil lines, but we couldn't ever get a read on it. And then another character, I can't remember what the other guy was, but there was one instance where we were trying to go to get some information, like crucial to the quest, and we were traveling down the river Styx. And we got to the end, and there was this creature there who was going to give us the information, but he fed on memories. So he wanted a memory from someone. He wanted memories, and we bargained with him, and I agreed that I would dip myself in the river to give up some memories just as quick as I could to satisfy his request. So I jumped in the river, and my friends instantly tried to pull me out. Well, they failed. But I made my will save, which means that even though I made it, I still lost a memory. Something from when I was like 8 years old or something. Well, they tried again. They failed again. I passed again. I lost another memory. But just when they actually succeeded, I rolled a 1, and I lost everything. So I didn't know who anybody was. I had forgotten how to eat, etc., etc.
Oh
my God.
So everything. So the girl who we were on the quest with, her god gave me a book that allowed me to relearn everything, and it actually ended up giving me knowledge, like plus 15 modifier in knowledge to everything. Even the most obscure things like history and dungeoneering, engineering, anything that was like, okay, does anybody have knowledge of this? Me, it was a very interesting game. I believe that at one point the DM's character died and he had to come back as somebody else. That was some kind of a winged creature that wasn't able to really mask what he was. So we could get a read on him that he was evil, but he was still helping us. Well, my best friend played a paladin, and paladins are what's known as lawfully stupid. They have to be like they're the shining beacon of law and good. If you're a paladin, you like at least in older versions. I don't know about 5th edition and everything. If you're a paladin, you had to be lawfully good. You basically had a path you had to follow as far as law and order. And he kept getting into run-ins with this thing, and this thing was trying to help us. And the girl who we were on the quest with was kind of protecting him. So just randomly, he decided he was going to attack the girl, instantly lost his paladinhood, got banished to another realm, and I don't remember what even happened at the end of that campaign because it kind of fell apart to the point where we weren't going to succeed, and I think everybody in all universes died. So we've definitely failed, but that was probably the most interesting campaign I've ever played. And fun fact, that was the first time I ever used the last name Highwind.
And you just stuck, and it stuck with you.
Yes, it has ever since. I'm going to get it legally changed one of these days.
So you basically out Thanos.
You might.
We out what?
What?
Thanos.
You out Thanos.
Right. You said you just got rid of everybody.
I mean, now that wasn't me. I blame my friend. Okay, he was like, I mean, and I get where he was coming from because it was like, I am lawfully good, so I am, this is a bad decision she's making, so she's siding with evil, so therefore I'm going to attack her when he was supposed to be like one of her main protectors. His god instantly stripped him of paladin. He was like in the story, now that I recall, he was supposed to be next in line to take, like that god was going to, I don't know what you'd call it, retire, or he was going to make him his successor. And he lost all of that too. I think he ended up wandering in some wasteland with a bunch of other like poor lost souls somewhere, and couldn't ever get back to us. And the party was split in like 3 different ways, and it was kind of a shit show, but it was fun when it lasted. But I'll never forget dipping in that river and doing what I was supposed to do, and my dumbass friends just couldn't pull me out. And I had to end up rolling, not only just failing the roll, I rolled a freaking 1. And of course, as we know now, rolling a 1 in certain situations is an automatic failure, and usually is going to hurt you a lot more than just failing. So yeah, I didn't even recognize who my best friend was at that point, and so I had to change my whole play style. Instead of like chumming up to him, I was just like, all right, well, you seem okay. I don't know you. I know we've got this history, but I don't remember it. So you're just kind of a new person to me.
So you're assuming that character.
Yeah, you got to roll with that. That's what we were talking about earlier. Is like you have this idea in mind, and you're following through with it, and then something happens. You just kind of got to, go down that path.
Okay. I like it. I'm really excited, actually. Xena and Alex, I'm going to get to y'all, but I'm really excited about it. I actually can't wait till my daughter has her next campaign. I am going to, they're kind of a close knit. I don't want to mess up, but then y'all just said just go in and just dive right in. So maybe I will. But Xena, tell me about your favorite campaign and your favorite moment.
So my favorite campaign and my favorite moment came from the same place. There was a campaign that I was playing that was actually happening during COVID. And so it was all virtual except for the last session where we were defeating the big bad end boss, which took 8 hours.
As is tradition.
But so basically, like, I was playing a rogue, which was wonderful for the campaign because we were going through essentially this pyramid that appeared out of nowhere in the desert, and you had to defeat, all of these things that were living in it in order to get the secrets of the pyramid and all the treasure that was inside it and all this sort of stuff. So it was kind of like Indiana Jones on crack. And so which was super fun given the people that we were playing with and also who the DM was. But the one of my favorite things, it's not just one of, it's the favorite thing about that campaign was that I became possessed by a major priestess who had turned into a banshee. And so she was like a big bad banshee, which is why she was able to possess me. And I was possessed for months, and nobody knew what was going on. Like, my behavior had changed a little bit, and people were kind of noticing, but like they couldn't really like guess what was happening. They just knew that something was a little off.
Oh no!
Until
yeah,
but you're different.
I'm built different.
You're
I'm built different.
So then the time finally came where they effectively had to fight me at some point and basically cure me of my possession and pull this banshee out of me so that I could turn to normal. But I mean, it took a good 6 months before I was able to return to normal. And being able to be just kind of like off kilter and bad for a second, because I was basically a chaotic good character, and just doing stuff very underhandedly to kind of like screw over my own party was very fun. And as soon as everybody figured out, oh my god, it's her, like it was just very classic.
I like it.
Yeah.
Because nobody was expecting it.
No, not at all. Like he was kind of like, I knew it, and then other people were just like, they was like super shocked. They had no idea that anything was going on. They just thought I was being like more aloof than normal. But it was like, no, like I've been having to like house this thing inside of me for however long. Like obviously game time is way different than real time.
Now I have a question about that. Question about that. When you were broken of your possession, did your character remember everything that happened, like you were trapped inside of yourself,
yes.
Or did you forget? Okay.
Yeah, no. I think the way that my character described it was that it was like I had been thrown into the smallest dog crate ever, and just expected to kind of look through the handlebars as somebody is like driving my own car and I'm in the trunk, something to that effect. And so I was just horrified, and I was, profusely apologizing to people and all that sort of stuff. Because, I mean, there were a couple of times where, party members almost died because I was having to, basically be bad. But it was a lot of fun.
Well, I got a question for Xena and Fox then, coming from both sides of this, because roleplay is big with me. How did you guys change your roleplay? Because Fox, you kind of talked a little bit about when you lost your memory, hey, it's my, who the hell are you, type guy. How did you have to change your roleplay with that going on, Xena?
So my original rogue character was very she was very sassy. She had an attitude. She wasn't like super extroverted, but she was very much if you encounter me, like I'm gonna throw you for a loop. And I'm also very good at what I do, and I know I'm good at what I do, so I'm a little egotistical about it and all that sort of stuff. Shocker, right? So then whenever I got possessed, I kind of had to turn into this almost sort of, I became effectively more reserved. My sass went away a little bit. I kind of threw quips a little bit here and there, but my jabs became a lot sharper. And then people are like, man, why are you being so mean? And all that sort of stuff. And then of course I would make purposeful mistakes that the normal character wouldn't have done. Because, she's this high-class rogue. Because we were playing, very high-level characters. We weren't starting out at level 1. I think our character started at, level 10. 12 or 10?
10.
Yeah. So it was kind of like a middle-level sort of game. So all of a sudden, you're dealing with this level 16 rogue who should not be, having these things occur, but they are, and she's just like, oops, all that sort of stuff. So it's there was a bit of a shift, but I kind of, it was very... In some ways it was subtle, in other ways it was not. But some people didn't pick up on it at all. So they were just like, man, what is up with her? And then as opposed to him and his character who was like,
there's a big tell.
Something is off.
there was a very big tell, and it was very early on. And as soon as I saw it, I knew something was fucking up. And it was that her character was obsessed with shiny.
Yeah, I was.
Obsessed with the shiny.
Which is the entire reason why I got possessed in the first place.
Oh, wow.
Cursed shiny.
Cursed locket.
Curiosity killed the cat.
Yeah.
It was the ring. All over.
She was literally playing
I was literally a cat. I was playing a tabaxi.
There we go.
So, yeah.
Okay, leaning into the stereotype there. I love it.
Yeah, no, we whenever we play the stereotype, we tend to play to the hilt because why are you flirting with this? Either you commit to the bit or you subvert the bit. You choose which one, and she commits to the bit better than anyone I know.
I love committing to the bit because it just makes doing the role play so much easier. I'm able to step outside of myself and not have to think about, well, what would I do in this situation? No, it's what would she do in this situation? What would her race do in this situation? Like all that sort of stuff, and it just allows me to turn a different part of my brain on. So anyway, you were saying about early on and knowing something was wrong.
You stopped obsessing over individual shiny objects in rooms. Mm-hmm. You stopped making a big fuss about fighting for a gold pile. And you actually let me carry the loot sack at one point.
Oh yeah, I was super obsessed about carrying the loot sack. Nobody else was allowed to touch it.
So that tipped me in character and out of character. So suddenly I reached out to a couple other party members in character to say, hey, I've got some suspicions about what's happening here. Something's going on and I don't know what it is. Keep an eye. Because my character was ultimately a fighter. He would not have any sort of knowledge to actually say what is happening for certain. Just that she is different and something is wrong and that we need to monitor the situation. Fortunately, he went straight to one of the most intelligent people in the party on the subject matter, and we had a game plan ready.
Though he did almost get eaten by an alligator.
Yeah, with detail. That was a separate boss.
Throw in the gator.
Yeah.
It's not a delve into a tomb of a pyramid if there's not a gator involved somewhere.
Oh my god.
Crocodile, gator, whatever.
Yeah.
So Alex, is this your favorite? Was that your favorite campaign too? That she was referring to?
No, he's been in way more campaigns than I have.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I would say that my favorite campaign is pretty hard to pick because I've had quite a few that have incredible, memorable moments. A few of them where I end up looking like a glory hound. A few of them where I fall flat on my face. Probably to skip the campaigns question, I'll just briefly say the two favorite moments that I've had, and it's a similar situation in both odds. I tend to play martial characters. I tend to do a lot of that where I have man with stick, or man with sword, or man with axe, man with weapon. I get to branch out with that other times, but a lot of people like to do fancy things, and I like to be in the front. I like to protect. So that's the characters I like to play anyways. And I always tend to find myself in long, impossible odds situations. One of the earliest campaigns that I was ever a part of, I was playing a character who sold his soul to a prince of the nine hells, to a literal prince of devils.
Why would you want to do something like that?
In exchange for a weapon worthy of my power and my bloodline. I was playing a character who was a descendant of was one of a family of legendary warriors, just one of a bloodline, as it were, where this bloodline had been cultivated by a red dragon who sought strength amongst their servants. So all of these kids, all of them, tend to do one thing, and that is turn anything that looks at them funny into red mist. That's how they operate. So, when you have someone who is a barbarian and has anger issues, and then you start looking for ways to get even more powerful, and then you find out, oh, I can sell my soul to a devil and get something for it? Okay. What do I have to do in exchange? Oh, I have a fight I need you in. Oh, for glory and battle? Done. What the barbarian doesn't realize is that this battle that he has just signed up for is one that has been waging since the dawn of time and has not stopped.
Oh, hell, and
You signed up to be in the Blood War, baby.
Yep, I was gonna say demons and devils.
Low intelligence, man. That'll get you every time.
You're right. I was gonna say.
So this was the setup at large. Sorry. So the setup at large was that the party at large was involved with devils in various manners, and we were dealing with everyone was there for a different reason. My character was there because he sold his soul, and he was given a commensurately powerful weapon. And I remember carving my way through ranks of demons, one after the other, until I came to a champion, a general, who I then split from neck to hip, only to have him explode in my face and take me down to about 2 HP. Because there are bad guys that have that ability that when they die, they explode for 100 points of damage. They are double birds to anyone who decides to fight them. They tend to end campaigns. They ended my rampage about pretty short there. Because shortly thereafter he was dragged down, kicking and screaming, buying his allies time to complete the main objective. It was a failure, but in the end, he killed something way, 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 way above his weight class. No business seeing or dealing with that problem. So, that is the moment of failure. And ultimately there is some glory in it because he did bag an enemy head, an enemy general, but he still died. He did not make it out. There is another time that I had a character who stood on the outsides of a church. Inside that church is a ritual going to resurrect an angel to try and heal heal a fractured land and try and restore some normalcy to a land that has been cursed. It's a very powerful angel, almost one step away from being a god, if you will. And this ritual has caught the attention of the Lord of all devils. Asmodeus himself has taken notice and does not want this to happen. So he has sent an army to the mortal planes to deal with this. A city is burning, and I stand on the outsides as another devil rides from the skies on a pillar of fire, and sets himself down, and begins to walk towards the church, intent on burning it to ash. And I, on my horse, charge. Once, twice, thrice, 4 times do I charge. I hit him every time. He casts spells at me again and again, and somehow my horse and I are making these saving throws time and time again until he falls, not I. And in that moment, a character who had no business surviving any of that stood triumphant. And I guess it's just to show if you throw something against the wall enough times, eventually something's going to stick. But it is the story of the impossible odds. You know, as many times as you die, you remember the times that you died gloriously, and the victories as well. But it's the deaths, it's the glorious deaths that especially shine.
Yeah. Well, see, that's the neat thing about D&D is you get to be something that you're not normal in real life.
Yeah.
How many of us get to be that spectacular hero? I mean, you know, being former military.
I joined the SFL?
Yeah. I mean, everybody does these for a reason. And I love that. I love that story. It was funny because you were talking about it. It reminded me, you guys were talking about stuff in the campaign I was running for my sons. We're talking about humorous things. I used humor because I was doing a very dark psychological campaign as well in this city. I mean, I was dark. I was playing on some. I told the people. I asked them about their fears and all this stuff on the characters. I knew this, so I always had things like the Gnome Depot,
No,
The gnomes running around doing the little magical stuff. And I took this from Instagram and Facebook and TikTok, and I add things in there. And one of Justin, the guy who doesn't like bagpipes, his character was afraid of little people. So of course I'm having him deal with like the fairies, the gnomes, and stuff. Well, Justin's character was walking, and he had to go and deal with a couple of characters because when we set up doing this campaign, I understand each of us is doing segments of this. The original campaign we went through was called a grinder. We started with 0 level characters. We each had 5 of them, and they were each in 5 different groups. We didn't really have abilities yet. We were common folks. Well, my oldest son and I, we played 2 turtles. They're turtles, basically. And he played as Cheech. I played as Chong.
Oh
so we're two stoner turtles. We're fighting these things, and and we're in this battle, and these little lizard things called kobolds are stealing our stuff, and they grab our stash. I'm like, oh man, you took our stash. I'm like stomping, doing this stuff. Well, one of my other characters had survived at the time, which was a tabaxi, and at this festival we had to perform. So my guy got picked. Well, he did a Richard Simmons jazzercise to win the talent show at the same time. So he's over there trying to do the Richard Simmons thing. He had like the little leg warmers on, all this stuff. Do this. So to get Justin back for that, I had his character's afraid of these things. He had to go see the turtles at the herb shop, which is basically their idea of a dispensary. Like they did the whole. He had to knock on the door and he said you have to ask for Dave, and he's like, Dave's not here, man. We're doing that whole Dave thing back and forth. They finally get in there, and he turns around, and all of a sudden he gets jumped by this group of gnomes. Like, hey, man,
hell no.
Yeah, it was like a whole bunch of them, like gnomes. And he's like, what the hell? Do this, and they said, and he goes, man, you need to buy this. And I'm like, man, I'm not gonna buy stuff. And so he's like trying anything, and he throws gold. And he goes, man, we don't want your gold. You gotta take this stuff. And he's like, man, doing this, and then he finally asks him, goes, no, who are you? I'm gonna hunt you down. And I go, we're the MS 1/3.
Oh my god!
And I had the table just dead silent, and then all of a sudden just bawling in laughter because nobody expected the MS 1/3. I've been setting this up for 2 years with this group. In the original campaign where I wasn't DM to this, and all of a sudden I finally got to use them with the turtles.
See, then but for every epic character that you are, that you play as, there's always going to be a character that you just absolutely hate to have.
Of course,
definitely. Like I was like, I'm going to go a little bit outside my depth. I'm going to be a cavalier.
Oh,
and
old school? I
don't know. We were playing, I think, Pathfinder.
Okay, so you're probably playing more old school then, yeah.
So it was a cavalier. Ashley is someone who is very attached to their horse, and we had ventured into a cave. I had to leave my horse outside, and so inside I'm freaking out the whole time. Wanted reassurance that my horse is okay. We came out some other entrance because it was like a maze down there, and I hated that character. By the time we got out of there, I changed characters, but to do so, I had to wander through the woods looking for my horse that was dead at that point. And I just stayed with its body until I died of starvation, and that's how I got to make a new character. So when just make sure if you do play, you play something you think that you're gonna like, because you could just waste hours doing something you absolutely hate. It's like, why would I ever pick this character again? Why would I ever try to be this? I mean, you could to try to liven things up a bit, but if you have a terrible experience the first time with a certain class, you're going to steer as far away from that as possible.
I'm going to ask a question then to all the GMs a little bit. When you have a character like this, I'm not afraid to sunset a character if somebody's not having a good time. You get one time in my campaign to switch characters, but it's a completely new character. You guys do that too? How do you handle that when a player's having a bad experience with? It may not be the class; it may just be how they have it built too.
I'm more drastic with it. I think that it's a matter of first approaching. Okay, is this character working for you, or what's the problem here? Is it that the class that you're running isn't matching what you want to do? Is the class holding you back? Because if the class needs to change, whatever, it's just numbers. We can change the class.
Yeah.
If it's your character that's the problem, if you have built someone that you don't think interacts well with the world that we're in, then okay, we have to invent a new character for you, and we can do that. It's just a matter of what are you looking to bring to the table now that you've had a flavor for the world, you've actually experienced a few sessions. Maybe you're realizing, oh, hey, we're above ground a lot. I don't need to be playing a dwarf that has stone cunning and a bunch of things that benefit me whenever we're underground, because we're not underground that much. We're waiting for a dungeon eventually, and then I'll be really good. But for now, we're out in the open plains. People are going to find things that they are either going to have to learn to tolerate, or that they're going to have to say, okay, well, maybe I need to be doing something different if I've built something. But it's also my job as the dungeon master, as the game master, to take in what everyone's builds are, to take in what everyone has chosen to do, because it's also on me. If someone feels that their character is wrong for the world, okay, that's a lore thing. That can be just we need to have you be a different person. But I should make it to where when people build characters, they're telling me what they want to do. If you build a rogue, you're telling me you want to sneak around, you want to do spy shit. If you build a ranger, you're telling me you want to go out on the frontier, that you want to seek new horizons, that you want to look for old ruins and explore them. You want to experience some of the hunt. If you build a fighter, you are voting that you want to wade into combat, barbarian especially. People's choices and where they put their skills matter. And I want to, rather than me saying, hey, who has this check, I would rather design my game and my campaign and my test around what people do have, and make those choices relevant. And maybe, we throw in some things that people don't have because, hey, no one decided to learn any magic. No one knows magic here. I'm sorry, we're in a fantasy game. There's going to be some magic runes that none of you can read. There's going to be a magical item that none of you know what it does because no one decided to know how to cast a spell. Sorry.
Yeah. Not all martial setup's funny because the city campaign with the thieves, everybody was rogues and marshals. There was zero. I think one player was a multi-class into artificer as well, just to have something. And he was playing more like a Batman type character. I told him your magic is attached to the device, so you need to be very descriptive of what it's doing versus just magic happens. No, it's based on science, which is interesting. So the follow-up question, the reason I asked that is because the follow-up question goes back to something we made a comment earlier in the show was you guys make your characters in separate. As a GM, I session 0, which is something you probably not heard before, Ashley, is the idea of we sit down ahead of time and we discuss what we're doing as a theme with hey, I'm doing a city campaign, we're doing such and such, here's the base information, Evan Clyde was what we were using, we're working in this setting here, and we all knew Six of Crows, okay, we're in the city of Ketterdam type thing. Here's what's going to happen. And of course, there's that one guy, I want to be a barbarian. How does a barbarian, know how hard it is to fit a barbarian into a city and be stealthy? So all of a sudden, the stealth checks weren't so much roll stealth as your roll in athletics is your stealth check to see if you can make it across the hall before the guards turn his head.
Quite actually bull in a china shop situation.
Yeah, which is funny because everybody at the table is linked to me. But everybody else at the table, other than my son, are linked to my oldest son. So they're all looking at him because they played 4th edition, which was legitimately a combat simulator again. And so they're all kind of look at him as leadership, and he's like, dude, because he's playing the artificer. I think he's wanted to end up picking artificer just to have that. But he's just like, hey guys, I don't have the best leadership skills. The barbarian of all people had the best leadership skill, which is sad. So how do you think you go through stealing something from a museum? Well, hey, here's a guard, knock him out. So you sort of adapting rules, but it goes back to the idea of when you guys do a session 0, what do you do and how much information? Because I prefer to have players connected somehow, and that means we deal with the characters at the time. Yeah. We build them together.
So, answering that one, what I've done so far, it really depends on the game and the group. Because some groups have individuals that they don't necessarily know what they want to do until they know what everyone else wants to do, because they want to do something separate from what everyone else is doing. Not necessarily because they're trying to be unique, but because they're trying to fill in gaps. Those players tend to be fill players. It's a habit of mine whenever I'm playing games, is because I always try to, every party always needs a healer. That's just a fact. If we want to have a game going for a little while,
that's why they make potions, Alex.
It is why they make potions, but that's also a gold sink.
I know. That's how I keep money in the economy.
It's fair. It's give and take here, but like the concept being like there's things that you can, there's ways that you can determine what your group will do at large. You communicate the information to them. I like to have as much information about the world at large in broad strokes, not necessarily about, I don't want to give like, here's all the continents, but I like to give, here is where you will be. Mm-hmm. Here is what you know about the region that you are starting in. Because if you know you are in the barony of Essex, and that is part of the Duchy of Linton, and that is part of the Kingdom of Aurelia, you may not know the politics of the kingdom. You might know the king, or at least the name, or the family at least. You'd know that there is a duchy. You'd know the name of the duchy of family. And you'd know whoever is the local noble, just because it's all the talk of the town. You've been here for X amount of time, or at least you're blowing in from, and you've been walking through the village and you've heard some basic stuff. Outside of that, everything information-wise that I give to players is based on where they are from in the world, where they have been. I only give the most basic information about the surrounding settings that, can give you an orientation, as it were. You're above ground as opposed to below ground. You're in a farming village, or you're in a mining town. Giving some of these basic things to set the scene and letting them explore, while also they have all of the knowledge from where they're from. Mm-hmm. Because that makes where they're from important, and that means we can go back to those places, and these people will have their own connections to where they're from. The other aspect to it is that there are some players that just want their stuff to be as secretive as possible, and I try to respect that. I think it's kind of dumb, because we're all going to figure out what you're playing at some point, but, some people want their privacy. Generally speaking, I'm a big fan, though, of the way you were describing, Mike, is collaborative character creation, so that everyone can make sure, and the DM knows, hey, this party is going to be composed of these people, these players, this is what we're going to be working with, and everyone's kind of on the same page, especially when it comes to what are we going to be dealing with? What are we going to be doing? Do we want to be bad guys? Do we want to have no bad guys? Do we want to make sure that, do we want to have bad guys but not have any fights between us? Where do we draw the line?
I think a lot of that goes back to what Fox said earlier about the alignments as well. And I'm a little bit more fluid with alignments, because I've seen too many players go, well, that's what my character would do. You say that around me, I will have a god smite you immediately. Because that tells me, one, you put no effort into your backstory. Two, you're worried about rules as written, and three, you have no freaking imagination. Because a chaotic neutral character is Joker. Joker's not good or bad. It just, he was opposed to a lawful neutral Batman. Well, because in his mind, he just wants chaos because chaos is normal to him. Where
I think you're
everybody
right,
else wants
depending
structure.
on the writer.
And it really depends on the writer and how you start playing with it, but that's how you play things. And so versus lawful good. I mean, lawful good doesn't mean you're goody two shoes. It just means you structure, you follow the structure on the good side of the law versus using the law to your advantage to exploit people. Like a lawful evil would, and lawful neutral just follows the law, like 99% of the American population, basically. That type of thing. So it's understanding those nuances. But I like the collaborative where we sit down, okay, hey, we're doing this one. We're doing an Oriental thing. Here's what it is. And yeah, I understand because I tend to be the person that fills in the gaps. But it's like, okay, the one rule we had was you're all spellcasters.
Funny. Okay, I like that.
Yeah, because the last session when I was DM, everybody was a marshal just totally by accident. So, okay, what's all this? So I took a bard. We have 2 blood hunters. We have a cleric. You know, so it's like, okay, my oldest son's the DM, so there's 4 of us plus him. And you know, so it's like, okay, we're a druid sending us on this thing. So it's like, how we do this? So I would almost love to take this group. All of us decide on one class. The whole group plays one class, but everybody has to play different subclasses as we go up.
Bard.
Whether it's bard, whether it's druid, whether it's cleric, whether it's fighter, whether it's barbarian. I mean, just the idea that you have to show that you have so much flexibility within this arching class, like a fighter. You can be a fighter. I played paladins and fighters most of my career. I also played an old school bard. Back if anybody knows what the old school AD&D bars are. Fox might know. I'm not sure if you know AD&D or if you're like version 3.
The first time I ever played was AD&D version 2.
Okay.
And of the 8 hours we played, it was 7 hours of arguing over the rule book. We didn't do shit.
So old school
I didn't do anything. I had to listen to the arguing all night.
Yeah. So old school bards used to be you did 4 levels in fighter, 5 levels in thief. It was called thief at the time. You had thief and assassin. They were 2 separate classes. You had to do thief, or you had to do it the other way around. 4 thief, 5 fighter, and then you started at level 1 as a bard. So by the time you're level 1 bard, you're actually really powerful, but you're just now getting your spells. So that's the old. So when we play old school, we did this because it was there was 7 or 8 races only. There was only like 8 or 9 classes versus the 13 plus the millions you got in Unearthed Arcanas and Homebrews and DC 20 and Piazzo and all their stuff. There's so many different things now. It's like, okay, a Ryuku's Guide to the that he does there too. So there's these little things. It's just like, but session 0. So coming back to session 0. How much do you guys really put on that? Because session 0 usually takes about three sessions. We're talking like 8 to 12 hours to hash things out. How much time do you guys put into a session 0?
0. Our session 0 is session 1. Like the way we always did it was, here's pretty much the main gist of it, guys. You'll end up coming together just like we always do. Mm-hmm. Choose what you want to choose, and then it would either work or it wouldn't work, and that's the obstacles you'd have to overcome to create a successful party. I mean, I personally, I understand where you're coming from with wanting to get everybody on the same page and stuff, but the way we always did it was, hey, we're just an adventurer. We happen to be this venture. We happen to be this, and it's like, hey, we all have this common goal. Can we make this work? And I think that added a lot more, a little more spice to it, and a lot more unpredictability. And really, when it would come together, it felt like more accomplished, if you will.
Yeah, I'm just coming after 42 years of having done a lot of that. It's kind of neat doing something where you coordinate. So please tell me you don't start everywhere in a tavern.
No, it's not one of those we all meet up in an adventurers guild, and it's like, well, let's just go together. We'd be introduced at different parts of the story, either walking through town, or something would happen to one of us, and maybe the first couple people have met, they're walking through, they see somebody in a fight with like 6 or 7 people, and they easily beat them, and they ask, start talking to them, have a conversation, and find out they're more towards, what their goals are, and that's how they join. There's always some kind of way that it'll fall, that the DM will make, the characters be able to have a common goal, or to want to be together, rather than just, oh, hey, I need 3 people, you, and you. That's lazy.
Well, see, I'm seeing that as a great way to just, we talked about earlier, going on side treks, the side quests automatically. Like, wait, we didn't even get to the storyline. It's like, so we're on a side quest already.
And then that one that I was a cavalier and decided to make a new character, obviously they had to meet me somewhere down the road. My new guy, and it's like, I think I came in at that. I was a Minotaur monk, and I was fighting a bunch of soldiers, and hitting them with hooves, elbows, and I think they recruited me while I had a soldier gourd on one of my horns. So on their way about to be in the town, they saw me fighting soldiers, and that's how they recruited me. Was I had a soldier that was just impaled, and it was I made sure I was going to enter in a good way on that one.
Okay. See, I've always wanted to play a Luxodon bard, so I go as a comedian and just make elephant jokes the whole time.
I think it also really depends on like the story you're trying to tell with your campaign in regards to whether or not a session 0 is really necessary. So, like, for instance, on the last campaign that I talked about with the whole pyramid and whatever else, like, we were basically answering, like, go, like, have your own adventure, go look at this thing, see if you can conquer it, that sort of stuff. And so then, it became I can't obviously do this by myself, so maybe I should, look to see if there are some people around that, that can maybe fill out, the holes in my skills and all that sort of stuff. And at which point, we formed a party based on going to basically the wanted board, but we had discussions beforehand, like over like a Facebook chat, basically saying, okay, like, who has ideas about what classes they want to play, and if you do want to play a specific class, how do you want this class to be, and all that sort of stuff. That way, whenever we actually did the first actual campaign, everything was already sorted out. There wasn't any question about who you were and what role you were playing. It was just, how are we all going to meet up, and how are we all going to get to this pyramid to basically go through it from the ground up. Versus
that is a session 0 though. That Facebook group was your session 0.
Yeah, essentially, but it's not like it's not like we all got together around a table or whatever. It's like It happened over the course of like people responding when they could or whatever else. So it's like, but in terms of like, there have been other campaigns I've played where it's been much more story driven, so it's been a little bit more traditional, and we have sat down and basically like worked it out and said, okay, well okay, well, this is where we're going to start out, like, this is the environment you're going to be in, what does everybody have for ideas on themselves, and after hearing all of this, and then going forward from there. So from my experience, it's definitely been situational on what kind of session 0 you have, if any.
Exactly.
And I think that's just mainly personal preference, not only for the player, but also for the DM as well.
Do you guys do, and this is mostly for Alex and Xena, I guess, because you guys seem to play a lot. Do you guys do
Justin,
where your campaigns are now connected?
Justin.
What?
Oh, sorry. You got a card there, bud. What's your
What
card?
is that you have?
Yeah, what's the card?
Is that a D&D card?
No, it's my friend Casey. I just had a pen in my hand. Just
What is it?
Awesome.
It's my friend Casey.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I just had it in my hand. I just just want to have it in my hand and.
Always got a friend nearby.
Yeah,
That's good. Yeah. So do you guys play a lot of campaigns that are interconnected? Like our last 3 are all connected in the same general geography and time period?
Nope.
The campaign I mentioned where my character sold his soul for a weapon is one of the only interconnected campaigns I've been in part of. It was a continuation of the very first campaign I ever played. It was a chapter 2. We never got any further than that. But those are the only times I've ever had interconnected games.
Yeah, every campaign I've ever played has been a totally separate storyline. And unfortunately that means that sometimes they're not finished.
Because that's very typical.
Because life happens. But that doesn't mean that like you can't look at your previous campaigns and go, oh well, I know where I messed up here and I can do this differently in this one, or oh hey, this character is kind of like this character in the other one, and then you use it for reference later on.
Well, that's just being a good player, learning from what you've done, and that's something you build over time. Like Zach and Ashley would learn over time as well. Because I know Zach, you said you only played like one time, right?
Yeah.
So what drew you into that? I mean, did your friends badger you into it, bribe you into it? Let's say your pizza or what?
So I worked at GameStop during like the glory years, like when GameStop was like really GameStop.
Nice.
So just being around that element, you play Magic the Gathering, you play D&D. It's just what you do. It's just kind of like the soul. And this was what year was this? This was like 2003. I think like 2003. So we really didn't. The internet was coming out, but it wasn't what it is now. So people still didn't really have as much to do. So just kind of what we did. I was way more now. Magic the Gathering is something I was much more deeper into D&D, but I wanted to get into D&D just because it's one of those. This is one of them things, man. Like I'm a geek. I got no shame in it. So that's just kind of. That's part that just goes along with it. Is just at least playing D&D once. If I do get a chance to play again, I already know what kind of character I want to play. So
you cannot leave me there. Go. What?
You gotta tell us. Yeah, you gotta tell us what it is now.
So
you cannot.
I want to roll. I want to kind of role play as Rick from Rick and Morty.
Oh, okay.
So like an artificer.
Yeah, artificer. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey. Cool.
Yes. Yes, that is exactly what I want to do. And I have no idea how to run Artificer.
Okay, learn by doing.
So I'd have a ball learning.
That would be fun. I mean, do you guys not to take over actually show, but I mean, do you guys like with me is like.
Well, Keith, I'm gonna tell you this, Keith, I'm gonna let you ask this one last question, brother. But my babies they need me.
How much do you guys look at modern pop culture and use it in your game? That's the last question I got because I'm an hour and a half past my bedtime.
I totally didn't hear the question.
How much do you guys modern pop culture do you guys run into your games? Whether it's playing as Rick from Rick and Morty or bringing in Futurama or Walking Dead or Lord of the Rings, how much do you guys do that?
Oh God.
Well, I mean, the most modern I ever got was the Pokemon homebrew. I mean, every other campaign I've ever played has been set in fantasy land. I mean, it's been in one universe or another. I mean, hell, the pyramid campaign was the closest thing to reality simply because you were in Egypt, but even then you're dealing with banshee priestesses and stuff like that. So you're still running fantasy. So yeah, but I've never played a campaign that could be considered tangentially related to the modern world or like have really any sort of modern culture at all outside of the Pokemon stuff.
I'll answer real quick. I tend not to, but one time I accidentally did, and I was completely embarrassing. We were running it was a Vampire the Masquerade, and I was one of the only, I think I may have been the only vampire. Everybody else was werewolves, and I decided I was going to make myself very pale and tall and that I had kind of a sheen to my skin, and I named him Edward, and I did not realize. As soon as I was telling about my character, I was explaining, and I said, "And my name is Edward."
You went
And
full Twilight.
everybody laughed, and I said, "Okay, I'm changing this right now," and I just completely remade the character. Yeah, that was an accident. Oops.
Over there sparkling in the sunshine.
Yes, I was like, I am a pale, sparkly vampire named Edward. My God, what have I done?
I am also dying. I need to go.
Exactly. Listen, guys, this was fun. I want to thank y'all so much for sharing your knowledge with us on Dungeons and Dragons. I'm for one, I cannot wait to participate in the campaign. Hopefully, when she has hers, I'll let y'all know how it goes. Keith, you can just shoot me that link when you guys hook up on Sundays. I would love to come and watch it. And even
Ashley, I thought you were going to invite me to your daughter's D&D campaign. Come on now.
You flying to Arizona?
I have the interweb.
Oh my god!
It's a 5-hour drive for me, Ashley.
You want to sit there?
Hey, it's a long way. It's a long way from Georgia. Okay.
I would think so. That plane ticket ain't cheap either. So.
Wolf about a month ago flew out there. You could have met him then, but whatever.
Like I knew, like he was going to. You know what?
I told Eddie. Blame Eddie. Eddie. I don't think I told Eddie, but just blame him anyways. I thought about telling him that's the same thing.
But guys, but
I was like, no, he's gonna be spending time with his girlfriend. He's not gonna want to meet up with Eddie. He's shy anyway. He's upstairs right now. He didn't want to come downstairs and he's shy. He didn't want to be on camera. So he'd rather. He's probably playing Baldur's Gate right now.
Hey, there you go. That's D&D in a video game, Ashley.
That's
right.
Good version.
D&D in a video game.
That's exactly what it is.
I've seen gameplay. There's no joke. I promise.
It is incredible.
All right, guys. Well, thank you. Come back whenever you want to. I am going to have my GM summit next week. So if you're a GM and you want to come back and be on the show, kind of tell us about the job as a SFL GM and things of that nature, I'd love to have you.
Well, yeah,
appreciate it.
I'll be there.
It's always a pleasure to be here.
Love.
It's
always a pleasure to
be
have you,
here.
Zach. Y'all be safe out there. Well, you know what,
it's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure, unless I'm in trouble. We won't talk about that.
Well,
I just
won't
came
talk
on,
about
so
that,
I make
but I'm
sure
glad
Alex
to
didn't have all the
see
time.
Yeah.
What, Ashley?
I said, I'm glad that you on the other side of that whole thing.
Hell yeah, me too.
Okay. All right, y'all. Y'all have a good one.
Bye.
Y'all get y'all some rest.
Yeah.
Bye.
Later, guys.
Bye. And everybody, I want to thank you guys for joining us tonight. I also have a special announcement. Well, I want to say a special thank you to all of the members of the community that voted me for MVP. It was a surprise. It was a shock. Even though I know I did well within the season, it's still a shock to know how much the community does appreciate that and appreciate just a genuine, they may see something that the deciding parties didn't. And for that, I'm really appreciative of it. Thank you for the MVP nod. Thank you for voting for my team, for best front office, for special teams. Like, we had a lot of accolades from the community. So I just wanted to take the time out to say thank you guys for doing that for me and for my team. It means a lot, and we definitely appreciate it. So, but looking forward to bringing you guys a great podcast next week, y'all. But until then, y'all stay safe. Each other well.